BoLS fans, AdamHarry here. I know it's been a while, but we're back with another Retro Corner review. We have the Warhammer Generals Compendium. Why am I doing a Retro Corner review for this? Well, if you've been keeping up with the news lately, you may have heard that Age of Sigmar is getting a General's Handbook, which got us thinking, that sounds a lot like the General's Compendium. We happen to have one. So let's flip through here and maybe see if we can take some of the inspiration, because those 3 different ways to play, it's something we've seen before. So let's flip through this book. This book is pretty awesome. Unfortunately, I don't know if you can find it anywhere, but if you get a chance to pick one up, it is a full color book. It was 176 pages of awesomeness. Yeah, you want to talk about some great alternate gaming rules for Warhammer Fantasy. Let me tell you, this was a great book to pick up. It was a promotional supplement which featured campaigns, scenarios, and also competitive play rules. So we'll flip through all that. It's not official. It was from Games Workshop, but this doesn't have any official rules. But what's great about this is, if you can see the table of contents, it had optional rules, again, for linked campaigns, mapped-based campaigns, campaigns in the Land of the Bordering Princes, game-mastered campaigns, and what that entailed. It also had rules for competitive gaming, hostile terrain, so how to build. It was chock full of stuff, how to build terrain, which is awesome. Allies and multiplayer game rules, using boats in Warhammer, and then cities, city sacking, sieges, raids. So Chapter 9 was all about that. So we're going to skip through these sections pretty quick. Campaigns are always a great way to play. Playing linked games, linked campaigns can really add a lot to your gameplay experience, no matter what game you're playing. So you could theoretically apply the rules in this book to whatever game system you're playing. It doesn't have to be a Games Workshop Warhammer game. It can be literally anything. There's also ladder campaigns and how that all worked. So simple ladder campaigns, the way this works is basically each mission represents you climbing up or climbing down a ladder, and it's more of a linear campaign. So you play this mission, no matter what happens, you're going to play this next mission. So whether win or lose, you're playing this next type of mission. Win or lose, you're playing this next type of mission. So these are very simple, very straightforward. We'll see branching campaigns are where it splits. So for example, simple ladder campaign 2, like this is a magical quest example. We do a Wizard's Duel using the Warhammer Skirmish rules on page 34. We do a meat engagement using the Warhammer rulebook, page 203 to 204. That's the old one, so that page rule doesn't apply anymore. And then Capture, Warhammer rulebook. Again, doesn't matter anymore because that's the old rules. What's great about this is it incorporated multiple game systems. You'll see miniatures in here from War Master as well as Warhammer Fantasy. So just tons of really cool stuff. You'll see the tiles. This is before they did those cool tile campaigns where they actually had other cardboard tiles and stuff like that. But you can see kind of where these games go. A wizard duel, doesn't matter who wins or loses. You're gonna have a big meeting engagement where basically the wizards got their buddies, and then you do a big fight, and then the game 3 is the big capture, where you're actually, maybe if it's a magical quest, you're fighting over a magical item, so whoever wins gets that. And you have bonuses and modifiers based on what happens in those games, but you play them all in succession. So it's a ladder campaign. Pretty straightforward. We have more examples of that. Now we have a tree campaign. These are also called branching campaigns now. So they start with the first game, and then depending on who wins or who lost, you go to the next campaign, and you can see how it branches out, it kind of spreads out based on all your different win-loss scenarios there. So you've got, this one, Scouts and Pickets. If the homeland won, you follow this tree. If the attacker wins, you follow this tree. Did they win or lose? You follow this tree. And it keeps going from there. These are really great if you want to put the time in to actually set those up. So I'm going to keep moving. We're running out of time here. So Scouts and Pickets, and they have all these different scenarios as well. It's a really cool one. Grom and the Defense of Nuln. So really fun stuff. If you played Mordheim, a buddy of mine played Mordheim quite a bit. You could totally incorporate your war bands into this game, play a skirmish game, and then go from there. So just tons of really cool rules. and stuff like that. There's scenarios all over the place, rafts and rivers. Chapter 2, map-based campaigns. These campaigns are always interesting because you had to get a fairly good-sized group of players. Generally, you'd want usually 3 or more players. You could play with just 2. I think it'd be a little boring with just 2 players on a map campaign. But if you could get 4 to 6 people going on a map campaign, they tended to be a lot of fun. What they did here is you basically represent an army as a banner, and they actually got a hold of some old War Master miniatures, which are the tinier scale Warhammer Fantasy miniatures, just in a much smaller scale, and they actually painted up those units, and those each represent a banner. So you can do that with just a single model. They recommend, if you could do these orc banners represent these big armies. And then you'd have a map with different sections, as you can see here. There's little grid lines in each section and stuff like that, and keep track of who would take those sections and stuff like that. And it was just a big map campaign. It's like an old school, kind of like Risk, the board game Risk, but on a much more granular level, and you don't get that one guy that bottles up in Australia. So it's just cool. You could download maps. You could make your own maps. They actually have tile campaigns. What I loved about this book too is they have tons of how-tos for scenery. I really miss these articles showing up in White Dwarves. Just, it's always cool stuff to see. Natural terrain, and then pikes and stuff that they've put in the ground. I believe they're called abetus. So big old spikes wedged in the ground to prevent charges. So, and this is a tile campaign. You can see here how that all works. Earthworks, they have all these little tutorial tips. Really, really awesome book. So I'm going to keep moving. Specific army rules. They have custom rules for each army and faction and stuff like that. It's pretty sweet. Tomb Kings, sorry. So, campaigning in the... it's a very... this book is not very... It's very well taken care of, so it doesn't open all the way. Give you a nice campaign for the Border Princes, which, how that all works. Battle in the Barrows. Shows you how to make some awesome sample Barrows. Pretty great stuff. Scenery works. This is amazing here. Just with some time, dedication, effort, you could build a whole fort. We don't see this a lot anymore these days. There's always those big kits they're always pushing, but none of this stuff was official GW. They don't have official GW foam. And if they did, I'd be a little worried. But you can make a whole fort using some wooden dowels, the right tools, the right mentality, and a whole lot of time to get it done right. Making an orc hut, that's pretty sweet. So they just had a ton of cool stuff. Keep moving. Rock Labyrinth. Yeah. Boom. Game Master campaign. A Game Master campaign. So basically, there's one player who is kind of writing the scenarios or kind of running the campaign in the background. He or she is probably the one keeping tabs on how everybody's doing the campaign, how they're feeling about the campaign, taking their feedback. They have a very special role, and if you've never played a game or played in a campaign where there is a game master who's helping you make stuff up, go try to find a big event and play in one of their narrative campaigns, because it's about as close as you're going to get without a dedicated group, and you'll see just how much work those guys do and how much fun it is. So having a game mastered campaign, so that's cool stuff. They have a bunch of cool rules for that. 3D map showcase. This is just more Forge World showing off, or Games Workshop showing off, pretty much. All their cool modeling stuff. And they do have some rules in here for campaigns. You don't have to follow them, but there's a ton of stats in here as well. If you notice, there's not a lot of points on these guys. So army specific, what is that? Glorious Tidings. So Beast of Chaos. So anyway, a bunch of different rules and stuff like that, which may or may not apply anymore, but again, we're just doing a retro corner to look at the old school stuff. GM Campaign Showcase. These are some of the cool models that can be used during the campaign, a long campaign. Beast of Nurgle Chariot. That's pretty sweet. Man, a lot of these models are either gone now or yeah, ouch. Or Beast of Nurgle stuff. Use like snails. Competitive gaming. Here's what I was getting to. Chapter 5 is all competitive gaming. Hidden setup, how to do that, where they actually put boxes in the way so you can't see. There's fun things. They have these things that you have their permission to photocopy. Deathmatch challenge. Hear ye. I blank hereby challenge you blank and your so-called army to a full-fledged deathmatch. And you can send that to people in fun times. If you wanted to challenge people, grudge match challenge, deathmatch score sheet, how to keep track of everything like that. These are pretty fun, I think. Some smack talking between the guys. So competitive gaming tournaments, they talk about tournaments. They actually acknowledge that tournaments are a thing, and you should go check them out. All that fun stuff. Hostile terrain. This is kind of a moot thing now, based on the rules, completely changed. But at least they have some really great terrain tips in here. Some cool mission scenarios that you can actually still adopt and customize. That's some line of sight blocking trees right there. That's a lot of trees. How to make lava boards. I've done that before. It's awesome. If you ever want a fun hobby experiment, try to make a lava board. You'll either go mad or it'll be awesome. I guarantee it. They have a frozen board, which is just sick, using clear resin and paint and stuff like that. And they do recommend you tape off the sunken sections. Put a barrier there so the resin doesn't spill. That's how they do that. Quick and easy desert terrain. Some great tips in here. Battle in the dunes. Using the terrain they build, they make scenarios. We've seen this board before. A lava field. I think this is a very famous lava board. And it's always had different rules and stuff like that, so it's pretty cool stuff. Yeah, just a tons of cool stuff. Allies chart, so if you wanted to play old school Allies multiplayer games, sorry Patronians and Tomb Kings, you're not there anymore. So, but Ally chart, so a very early rendition of the Allies chart. Keep going. Yeah, old school Warhammer stuff, man. Multiplayer scenarios. I mean, some of the funnest gaming moments I've had have been when we're playing for fun in somebody's house or at the game store or whatever, and just inviting random people to jump into a giant multiplayer game. You gotta be conscious of the time and the effort, but when you're just kind of throwing everything in the kitchen sink at a game, those are some of the funnest times you can really have. And yeah, you're not saying you can't play competitive multiplayer, but I mean, it's a lot more fun when you're just having fun. Don't take it so seriously. So boats in Warhammer, this is another cool thing. This was all custom stuff they did, I believe, at a Warhammer World one year, where they actually built custom boats and they had rules for the wind and stuff like that. The crazy water and ship showcase there. So if you were lucky enough to see that, good on you. Just a ton of cool stuff. So sieges and city raids and stuff like that. This was a cool section. You kind of needed to make sure that it was balanced in a way that the defender wasn't just going to be able to hide behind their walls, but the attacker wasn't just going to be able to plow through everything. So this one suggests Storm the Watchtower. It lasts for 10 turns, so it's pretty crazy long game. No Man's Land Crossing, bunch of tower scenery and stuff like that. Natural defenses, defensive terrain. It's just a really good book, man. It was such a great addition to the world of Warhammer. So it's cool to see the old school General's Compendium and now the Warhammer Age of Sigmar General's Handbook coming out. I'm hoping they take a page from this book and a page from Warhammer Fantasy and really inject some new life into that game. So cool stuff. Hope you enjoyed this quick retro corner review. Jumping back into the Bulls time machine on a way back trip through memory lane there. So anyway, I'm AdamHarry from Bell of Lost Souls. Thanks for watching. Have a good one.